Okay, welcome everybody. It's now time for me to do something I haven't done in a while. I'm going to do an Elite Mode case. I'm going to do the King's Shadow, case number 48 in the World Edition. In Colombia in South America. Matthew, we had adventures of Olympic proportions in Rio, and I don't just mean my little hallucinogenic trip, but I could use a reminder about our new mission. We're in Campanilla, Colombia. The village is named after a beautiful 12th century bell, or campana in Spanish. It is located in the tower behind us. Dupont, there's no time for a guided tour. We've come to Campanilla because of another Spanish word, sombra. According to an old flyer we found in Rio and the testimony of Hector Montoya, sombra may have started in this village many years ago as a circle of intellectuals. All the more reason to study Campanilla thoroughly. If sombra started here, we're bound to find something on El Rey too. El Rey? I don't know, are we sure that dude's even alive? He must be older than dirt, and if the... Whoa. Matthew, did you hear that? My ears are still ringing. It came from that old bell tower over there. Matthew, let's see what's going on. And I can describe this case very well. A new partner taken away there so soon. This is just after Michelle joined the Bureau. Oh. There's the rope. Oh my God, Michelle! Matthew, we need to get her to the hospital. Jack, she's not breathing. That bell crushed her. It's too late. But she can't be dead. She left the office just 5 minutes ahead of us. And she was fine. She was fine until she was killed. Look at that rope Matthew found. Someone cut the bell down. We should examine that rope for forensic clues. Michelle was murdered, but who could have done this? I don't know, but that ferry ticket might tell us. Let's run that flash code through the database and see who bought it. We've walked into Sombra's turf. I guess we can't be too surprised that they greeted us by killing Michelle. In fact, Matthew's right. This only confirms that we're close to a breakthrough. There's something or somebody in Campanilla that Sombra doesn't want us to find. But this is insane, Matthew. As if being betrayed by a mole wasn't enough, now they had to kill our agent too. Michelle and I had our differences, but I started to warm up to her. She didn't deserve to die like this. We'll have to mourn her later, Jack. We'll have to mourn her later. Jack, take Michelle's body to the morgue. Tell the team no one should wander off alone. Matthew and I will start the investigation. And I will get the results tomorrow night. But sit tight, everybody. I need to collect stars. Okay, I got 13 stars. Let's take care of the rope right now. Got it. Matthew, you've collected some brown leaves from the rope that suspended the bell. Lars will help us figure out who cut it down. This is 6 hours. Ferry passenger. Matthew, the flash code on the ferry ticket from the crime scene identified a passenger, Alejandro Pradix. You're right, we've heard that name before. Alejandro Pradix is Sombra. He sailed their ship to Antarctica in the 1950s. In Argentina, you arrested Pradix's granddaughter. She was fanatically loyal to Sombra and refused to tell us what became of her grandfather. We later learned Alejandro went to Luzaguay, but there we lost track of him again. You're right, Matthew. Alejandro Pradix clearly has a long history with Sombra. I wonder what brings him to Campanilla now. But in a small village like this, he won't be hard to find. Senor Pradix, are you the Alejandro Pradix who sailed a ship to Antarctica back in the 1950s? Yes, I am. At your service, Senior Trooper Matthew. I'm surprised anybody'd remember that old expedition. A ferry trip is all I can manage these days. No need to be modest, Senor Pradix. You and your family have managed to do quite a lot for Sombra. Is that what brings you to Campanilla too? Sombra? Senior Trooper Matthew, those daredevil days are behind me. It was time for the youth to take over. I'm just an old man visiting his birthplace, Senior Trooper Matthew. At my age, climbing up to the bell tower is a thrilling adventure. Thrilling is one way to put it. One of our agents has just been killed there. I'm sorry to hear that, Senior Trooper Matthew. Looks like not everyone's lucky enough to live to be my age. Matthew, I'll eat my badge if Pradix is an old man visiting his birthplace like he said. He makes no secret of his Sombra affiliations, and why would he come home now after a lifetime of laying low in South America? Tell you what, he's exactly how I picture El Rey. Old, arrogant, good at giving orders, and better at dodging questions. But if he killed Michelle, it'll be the end of his hiding. But you're right, we haven't had a look around the village square yet. We were here when we heard the bell fall. Let's go back there now. Here we are. Matthew, I don't get how this lost wallet is going to lead us to Michelle's killer, but go ahead, check for an ID. That antique coin is a less common thing to lose. Let's see if we can lift some skin cells off the surface. Matthew, Michelle's dead, but we're already on the killer's trail. They'll be sorry to have messed with our partner. There we are. Michelle Zaria's card. Matthew, what's Michelle's old business card doing in this wallet? That means the wallet's owner knew Michelle. What are the chances? Poor Dios, that's my wallet. Give it back or I'll call the police. Don't worry, ma'am. We are the police, and we need to have a word with you. Doña Amarga, okay. Let's talk to Doña Amarga. Doña Amarga, we need to ask you about this business card in your wallet. How did you know Michelle Zaria? I only knew her as a little girl, Senior Trooper Matthew. I locked her up in the closet many a time when she disobeyed me. You locked up Michelle in a closet? That's charming. Are you her relative? I was her governess. Senor Zaria was an army officer stationed in the Americas. I looked after Michelle until they moved to the U.S. when she was 12. Poor Dios, that child needed discipline. I tried to teach her to be useful, to contribute, and she'd answer back, looking at her nails like a little madam. Yeah, she kept that habit well into adulthood. But I had hopes for her. I told her it's a man's world, but a woman can rule it if she's strong. When I learned Michelle became a lawyer, I saw my hard work rewarded. Well, being a lawyer didn't save her from being crushed by a bell. Michelle was here, and she's dead? Dios mío. That's unfortunate, Senior Trooper Matthew, but maybe Michelle answered back to the wrong person. Who knows? Matthew, I didn't get a maternal vibe from Michelle's old governess. Not sure I'd have her look after Sanjay. I know times were different back then, but she locked up Michelle in a closet. You're right, her talk about contributing was suspiciously familiar, too. This town is clearly swarming with Sombra. Let's keep an eye on Doña Amarga. Got it. Another 15 coming my way. Matthew, let's put that skin cell sample from the antique coin under the microscope. There we are. Ignacio Munoz. Matthew, the DNA on the antique coin you picked up at the marketplace matched a certain Ignacio Munoz. Munoz? Isn't that the name of that Sombra collaborator we met in Argentina? Interesting that he's dropping coins like breadcrumbs wherever we go. You're right. Munoz being here just when Michelle's killed is suspicious. Let's grill him. Ignacio, however you want to say it. I'll alternate. Fancy meeting you again, Senior Trooper Matthew. Is little Michelle not with you today? Michelle's been murdered. Don't pretend you don't know about it. Michelle's dead? My, that is regrettable, but not surprising. Sombra doesn't like traitors. We know what you like, Munoz. Anyone who pays you in antiques, including Sombra. Tell us what you have to do to earn this coin. Nothing that concerned Michelle. Senior Trooper Matthew, it's true that I like beautiful things. Michelle is also beautiful. I never wish to see that beauty destroyed. We'll see if your story checks out, Munoz. Don't skip town. And I'm not going to skip out on this case. So, that's everything. All of All-Stars collected, and these two will, by the time these two would have run their courses, and I may very well have leveled up by then. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, we are back doing another case in Elite mode. So let's get the results of Michelle's autopsy. Michelle and I joined the Bureau almost at the same time, Matthew. I'm gutted to see her on my autopsy table. Michelle's murder shocked us all, but maybe we should have seen it coming. Sombra is clearly furious that we found this place. Using the bell as the murder weapon was clever. Without direct contact between the killer and the victim, forensic clues were impossible to obtain. The only clue I found is something the killer wanted us to find. Look, in Michelle's pocket, there was this torn book page. It says, Chapter 2, For Whom the Bell Falls. I didn't even need Monsieur Dupont to identify the book. It's Ernesto Carpena's novel, Rayuela de Ficciones. In Chapter 2, a character dies the same way as Michelle. Even criminal masterminds have weaknesses. This killer has two, vanity and Argentinian literature. They've read Rayuela de Ficciones. You're right, Matthew, this book can only end one way, with the killer's arrest and Sombra's downfall. Matthew, I can't believe Michelle's dead. She was getting really good at my knock-knock jokes. Lars, you're still reeling from what happened with Angela. If you aren't feeling up to this, we'll ask Grace to help. No, Matthew, I want to play my part in bringing Sombra down. Now, the results of that residue from the rope in the bell tower. In short, it was a particular kind of tobacco leaf called corojo, or corojo. Corojo is grown in the Vuelta Abajo region of Cuba, and it's used for the outer wrapping of cigars. The tobacco must have gone on the rope via the knife that was used to cut the bell down, which means the killer used the same knife they also used to cut their cigars. So the killer smokes cigars. They might think they're a cut above the rest, but cutting the bell down on Michelle will be their downfall. Matthew, I still can't believe Michelle's dead. We've been so busy investigating that we haven't even had time to mourn her. It's true that we didn't warm up to her immediately, but Michelle found her place on the team. It's disheartening that the Bureau should suffer another loss so soon after Angela's betrayal. But Matthew, I don't expect you to be deterred now that we're so close to a breakthrough with Sombra. Well, Campanilla is definitely a place of strategic significance. Even an old veteran of Sombra, Alejandro Pradix, crawled out of the woodwork. Another suspect, Ignacio Munoz, is already known to us for his links with Sombra, and we also met Michelle's childhood governess, who's a little too fond of discipline and contributing. But, Matthew, there you are. I ran all the way from the village. I've made a discovery. Dupont, what were you doing alone in the village? Matthew, Listen, I found El Rey. Alright, and we'll see you for Chapter 2. Okay, we are back. Let's start Chapter 2 of The King's Shadow in Elite Mode. This is the case where Michelle Zaria, our shortest-lived partner, is taken from us. Just after Angela was locked away. DuPont, what are you talking about? Take a deep breath and tell us everything. Matthew, listen. There's an old gentleman's club in the village called the King's Shadow. Wait, we're trying to find Michelle's killer and you're spending your time in a pub? DuPont, Michelle's dead? But how? She was crushed under the bell. Sombra clearly doesn't want us in Campanilla. Mon Dieu, I shall miss her very much, Matthew. She was the only one who appreciated my linguistic explanations. Which brings me back to my original point. Matthew, the club I found is called the King's Shadow. El Rey means king, and Sombra means shadow. Matthew, tell me you get it. The King's Shadow must be Sombra's birthplace. Matthew, I've got to admit, it sounds plausible. DuPont, show us the way to the King's Shadow. Matthew, look at this place. Imagine it back in the day. Drinking, politics, jazz. If it's Sombra's start as a group of intellectuals. I see the King's Shadow captured your imagination, DuPont, but we need proof that this is Sombra's lair. Alright, that file has confidential written on it. Let's look inside. And hopefully that torn paper will bring new leads on Sombra and El Rey. We owe it to Michelle to finally unmask them. I'm going to do everything right now since I have 17 stars. I would have ended up with 22 at the end of this. Here we are. Matthew, that old record sleeve you restored has King of the Trumpet written on it. It's another reference to a king. Trust me, we're finally on El Rey's trail. DuPont, we're all desperate to bring Sombra down and find Michelle's killer, but this mostly sounds like a coincidence. Leave this record with me, Matthew. A little research in my library and you'll change your tune about this clue. I promise. Got it. A faded notebook. Matthew, I know you're interested in that notebook, but how about the rest of the file? It's all about Michelle. Her old suspect profile, the map of Sombra's island near Australia. This is classified information. How did anyone get hold of it? Let's give that notebook a good dusting and see who kept tabs on Michelle. Matthew, the writing in that notebook you found in the file says, "Subject left Hacienda del Rey, heading to Campanilla." The rest of the file was about Michelle, so this must refer to her too. And the notebook stamped with the logo of the British Intelligence Agency. You're right, we met an MI6 agent before, in Peru. But why would an MI6 agent track Michelle's movements? Looks like Price has got some explaining to do. Mr. Price, you've compiled a hefty file on one of our agents, who's now dead. Care to explain? Since we're on the same side, Senior Trooper Matthew, I might as well tell you. The MI6 knew Michelle used to be Sombra. We suspected she was in danger. So you knew Michelle was in danger, but you didn't alert the Bureau? And you also knew about Sombra all along. Why did you lie about it in Peru, if you really are on our side? I don't work for the Bureau, Senior Trooper Matthew. I report to Her Majesty, the Queen. I've done hours and hours of surveillance on Michelle, enough to smoke dozens of cigars and read the entire Rayuela de Fichones, but saving her was above my pay grade. We'll take your word for it, but if it turns out you're lying again, it won't be above our pay grade to arrest you. Go. And I'll let the jazz record run its course, and I'll see you when that's done. Okay, we are back now, and let's get the results of the jazz record from DuPont. Matthew, this old record you found in the King's Shadow will jazz up your investigation. I've identified the musician who was known as the King of the Trumpet in the 1950s to 60s. His name is Arsenio Castillo. Arsenio performed regularly in the King's Shadow at the time Sombra began. Matthew, I'm still skeptical about this. Just because he's a local musician called himself the King of the Trumpet doesn't mean he's El Rey. What else do we know about this Arsenio? We know that he's back in Campanilla just when Michelle's killed. You can't say that's a coincidence too. Alright, if this King of the Trumpet is here, we can at least take a closer look at him, Matthew. Welcome to the King's Shadow, Senior Trooper Matthew. Have a cigar and make yourself comfortable. Senor Castillo, we're investigating a murder. We suspect this club was the birthplace of a secret organization many years ago. You were a regular here at the time. Ah, those were the days. Music, discussions, drinking every night. The King's Shadow was bustling with life. Many of the regulars became prominent figures in later life. Alejandro Pradux spent the night here before he sailed to Antarctica. Adolfo Herrera plotted his coup in Luzaguay from that table. Of course, they were just young men back then. And they were all part of the organization we're chasing. What do these young intellectuals talk about? I was busy playing music, Senior Trooper Matthew. I had no time for chatter. Alright, let's talk about more recent events. Does the name Michelle Zaria sound familiar? Nah, I don't think I know her. I don't get out much anymore. I prefer to read. I never tire of Rayuela de Ficciones, such a masterpiece. Pity the author was tortured to death. It was nice to reminisce about old times, Senior Trooper Matthew. Come back tonight. I'll tell you more if you buy me a drink. Matthew Arsenio confirms several Sombra agents used to meet here in the 1950s, which also supports DuPont's claims that the King's Shadow was where Sombra was first thought up by a group of intellectuals. But we're still missing a crucial piece, El Rey. So many clues point to him, yet he keeps slipping through our fingers. But who more than El Rey would want to see Michelle dead? She betrayed Sombra and led the Bureau to their hideaway. Matthew, we've never been so hot on El Rey's trail, but a little hint wouldn't go amiss. If only Michelle could help us now. Good point. Michelle may be gone, but we can still retrace her steps. She must have gone to that bell tower for a reason. Let's go back there and figure it out. Oh. A lot of clues here. Matthew, that's Michelle's phone. I recognize it. Maybe it's silly, but I can't help feeling like Michelle left it here for us to find. That wrought iron key must be how the killer gained access to the bell in the tower. And then they dropped it when they ran away. Let's vacuum up that brown residue on it. The writing on that postcard was erased, and then the card was thrown away. Restoring the text might explain why. Matthew, I feel like we're on the right track. Let's do this for Michelle. Back in a moment, folks. Okay, I gathered some stars. I got up to 21. There we go. Matthew, that postcard's addressed to a prisoner, Lorena Pradix. That's the Sombra agent you arrested in Argentina. And the message reads, El Rey doesn't forget those who are loyal. Signed, your grandfather. So Lorena's grandfather recently mentioned El Rey to her. Matthew, we're finally getting somewhere. Senor Pradix is a Sombra old-timer, and judging from his tone, familiar with El Rey. If he's not El Rey himself. And if he killed Michelle too, then we've come full circle. Alright, Matthew, time to grill Pradix again. Senor Pradix, you said you were done with Sombra a long time ago. But we found evidence that you're part of El Rey's inner circle, if you aren't El Rey yourself. Me? El Rey? Senior Trooper Matthew, you have some ideas. El Rey stayed in the shadows for decades, hiding his identity even from Sombra's most loyal allies. Why would he reveal himself to you now? He can't hide for much longer. If El Rey killed our partner, like we suspect, it'll be the end of his reign. Here, have a cigar as a prize for your naivety, Senior Trooper Matthew, and leave Campanilla now, unless you want to end up like your friend. That's El Rey's message to you. Well, Senior Trooper Matthew's message is that you're under arrest for threatening the Bureau. Got it. Matthew, let's send Michelle's phone to Elliot. He'll find something in it that'll turn this case around. "24 hours. Of course, the new case will be starting pretty soon. Got it. Matthew, let's send those brown particles to Lars. He'll know what they are and how they got on the bell tower key. On the bell tower's key. Okay, that'll do, and I'll see you guys when these two are done. Back in the World Edition to finish up my Elite Mode case. So let's get the results of Michelle's phone. Matthew, I can't believe those dirtbags killed Michelle. Looking at her phone brought back memories when she sent me messages as X, or how she used to call me Mr. Clayton. But there was some disturbing stuff in her phone too. Disturbing how? Some creep named Ignacio kept harassing her with suggestive messages. Sometimes Ignacio quoted kinky passages from that book called Rayuela de Fichones, or talked about adding Michelle to his art collection. That's Slimy Munoz? That's Slimy Munoz? Yuck! Poor Michelle. At least that explains why she looked so angry when she checked her messages. This perv had followed her everywhere since we left Argentina. I don't know why Michelle never told us about this, Matthew. I mean, Michelle knew that she could trust us, right? She knew we were her friends. Michelle wasn't the type to ask for help. But it doesn't mean she didn't trust us. And Matthew will give Munoz what he deserves, even if it's all we can do. Munoz, you've been stalking Michelle since we left Argentina. What did you want from her? I leave that to your imagination, if I didn't know how unrefined that is. Michelle was too exquisite for you Bureau peasants. I was more worthy of her. Stalking Michelle across 4 countries was a strange way to show your appreciation. Michelle was like an addiction to me, Senior Trooper Matthew. Like smoking, or beautiful antiquities. It was a force I couldn't fight. I only worked with Sombra to get closer to her. When she let you join you, the pain was unbearable. And so you led Sombra to her. Maybe you even did their bidding and cut down that bell yourself. You probably got a kick out of that too. How dare you? Michelle would still be alive had she not joined the Bureau. You are the ones who destroyed her. You're lucky we can't arrest you for harassment, but if Senior Trooper Matthew finds out you had anything to do with El Rey, you're going down. What a prick. And after dinner, we can watch this movie together. Oh, hi, Matthew. Dinner and movie. That sounds like a nice date. What? It's not a date. It's just bro time. Jeez, I was just teasing. It's good to see you guys have some fun. Yes, well, let's move on to more important matters. Matthew, about that sample you gave me. Those ground particles you found on the bell tower key were ground coffee. It's a textbook case of cross-contamination. Your killer ground some fresh coffee, then transferred some particles to the key when opening the bell tower. So now we know our killer drinks coffee, but all the caffeine in the world won't help them stay ahead of Matthew. Matthew, tell me you're making headway with Michelle's murder and finding Sombra's leader. The good news is, we've traced Sombra's birthplace to a club called the King's Shadow. We talked to a musician who often performed in the club, but he insisted he wasn't one of the young intellectuals who founded Sombra. Meanwhile, we're certain that Alejandro Products knows something about El Rey. He mentioned him in a message to his granddaughter. El Rey's kept his identity secret for decades. He won't reveal himself willingly to us, but that also means that he, more than anyone, would have wanted Michelle dead. Then you know what to do, Matthew. Prove that El Rey's Michelle's killer, and let our partner's murder be his downfall. We're on it, Chief. Matthew, I just had the MI6 headquarters on the line. They demand to talk to you. And we'll get to Chapter 3 and do that talk after this. Okay, we're ready to start Chapter 3 of The King's Shadow. The MI6? They have an operative here, George Price. We've already questioned him. That's the problem. The MI6 said George Price doesn't work for them anymore. Price was forced to retire a few years ago for reasons the MI6 couldn't disclose. But they warned us not to trust him. That's insane. If Price isn't with the MI6 anymore, how did he get a file on Michelle? Her past with Sombra, the Bureau's investigations. Matthew, we have to know who Price works for, and if the MI6 won't tell us, we'll find out from the man himself. And when you're done, go back to the King's Shadow. We're all counting on you to avenge Michelle and finally catch El Rey. Hands up, Price. Tell us who you are and who you work for. We know you aren't MI6 anymore. Senior Trooper Matthew, you blow my cover again. It's true that the MI6 forced me to retire. They said I'd become too invested in Sombra, only because I proposed a more open approach. A more open approach to Sombra? You mean like trailing a Bureau agent and reporting her moves to them? Of course not, Senior Trooper Matthew, but to fight Sombra efficiently, we need to get closer to them, to understand how they operate. That's why I followed your colleague, who used to be Sombra. I kept other individuals under surveillance too. Here, look at my notes. Yesterday at 15:47, I had freshly ground coffee with Ignacio Munoz. 15:47, or or 347. He was disappointed with Luzague's Olympics performance. How close did you get to Sombra then? Close enough to know who El Rey is? I don't know who that is, Senior Trooper Matthew. I don't have the resources you guys have at the Bureau. If you changed allegiance from Her Majesty the Queen to Sombra's El Rey, we certainly have the resources to send you to jail. There we go. I'm not going to get the first one anyway. That stained piece of paper looks old. Let's recover that faded writing. It could finally tie one of our suspects to El Rey. And taping the torn picture back together should help us solve the puzzle of Michelle's murder, too. Moment. Alright, I got all 5 stars, so I'm gonna do everything right now. There. Matthew, the writing on that old paper says El Rey's Manifesto. The text is familiar. The smart rule, the strong command, the fast work, the weak die. The cornerstones of Sombra's ideology. But look at all the corrections. It looks like they were still refining their motto. You're right. This must be the original first draft of Sombra's Manifesto. Let's get Elliot to identify the author. Got it. Matthew, that article's about Michelle. That's her photo, and the headline says, "Newly qualified lawyer wins murder case." But wait, we also know the defendant. It's Arsenio Castillo, that musician who used to perform here. But Arsenio said he didn't know Michelle. Funny he forgot the lawyer who acquitted him of murder. I don't think Arsenio suffers from dementia, so it must be plain old lying. Time to jog his memory again. Arsenio, you told us you didn't remember Michelle Zaria, but she defended you in court, and in a murder case no less. Weren't you grateful enough to remember her name? Oh, well, I was innocent, so I didn't think it mattered. Besides, it was 15 years ago. It matters because Miss Zaria was killed by criminals she used to represent in court. They belong to the organization that used to gather in this club. I told you, I don't know anything about them. I never belonged to criminal organizations, unless you count jazz bands. Ha! Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a cup of freshly ground coffee waiting for me. Enjoy your coffee, Senor Castillo. It'll be the last one if Senior Trooper Matthew discovers you repaid Michelle by killing her. Okay, I'll see you guys when this is done. See y'all soon. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of El Rey's manifesto. Back in the elite mode case again. Matthew, deciphering old handwriting is frustrating. If only tablets had existed in the 1950s. Elliot, get to the point. Who wrote El Rey's manifesto? Luckily, the town hall's database is stuck in the 19th century, so I had handwriting samples for most of the citizens. And the writing matched one of your suspects, Doña Amarga. What? Michelle's old governess? I almost forgot about her, probably because I assumed El Rey's manifesto was written by a man. But you're right, Matthew. Doña Amarga could have been part of the circle of intellectuals who started Sombra. Remember her weird talk about contributing? And she knew Michelle well enough to have recognized her in the bell tower. It all fits together, Matthew. But then we don't have a minute to lose. Let's find Doña Amarga. Doña Amarga, we know you weren't just Michelle's childhood governess. You've been involved with Sombra since it began. You drafted their manifesto. You never asked me about that, Senior Trooper Matthew, but I'm used to being overlooked because I'm a woman. Is that why you chose to operate from behind a male alias? Admit it, Isabel, you're El Rey. If I were, would I be so stupid as to tell you? Because you shove an old composition in my face? I'm disappointed, Senior Trooper Matthew. You can do better than that. Were you the one who indoctrinated Michelle to join Sombra too? But then you had to kill her before she could have unmasked you to us. You sound like a character from that nonsensical Rayuela de Fichones, thinking I'd confess to anything without proof. Senior Trooper Matthew will find proof, and if you're El Rey and hurt Michelle, you'll write your next composition in jail. Matthew, El Rey has managed to stay in the shadows for decades, but finally the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. Isabel Amarga was the one who drafted Sombra's manifesto. For all we know, she could be the one who coined the name El Rey, and the one hiding behind it. Or take George Price. We thought we blew his cover in Peru, but his MI6 stick was equally false. What do you want to bet? Arsenio isn't a simple jazz musician either. He was accused of murder once, and his lawyer was Michelle, and we know she used to represent Sombra in court. We discovered so much, but we're still missing something. Let's go back to the village square where it all started. Final crime scene. Ugh. There we are. Matthew, that's Michelle's necklace. She didn't have the necklace when we found her body. The killer must have dropped it here. There's bound to be some sample on it we can analyze. And El Rey may have used that knife to cut the Belle's rope. Let's collect some of those fibers. Matthew, El Rey may be a mastermind and our suspects may all be practiced liars. But no one can outsmart science. Okay. Had to check something. There, finally. Wow. How to go through all that. There we go. Matthew, let's get the substance from Michelle's necklace to Lars now. And the knife. Got it. If these fibers on the knife come from the rope in the tower, Lars might tell us who cut down the Belle. Let's rush this to the lab. "30 hours. I'll see you guys when these two are finished." Okay, both of these are finished. Let's get these results. Matthew, the results I've gotten from Michelle's necklace will seal the killer's fate. That's encouraging, but a bit more detail would help. The sample you collected from Michelle's necklace was sweat, Matthew, and the DNA in it didn't come from Michelle. I've identified the genes responsible for brown eyes, but the rest of the sequence didn't match Michelle's genetic profile. So the sweat came from another brown-eyed person, the killer. Exactly. Matthew, it's too late for Michelle, but we can't pay a better tribute to her than bringing down El Rey. Matthew, you were right. The fibers on the knife did come from the Belle's rope. So the killer did use that knife to cut down the Belle. There were some other fibers in the mix that didn't come from the rope. They had a lower tear resistance, typical of fabric used in everyday clothing. And the color was different too, dark red. So the killer was dark red. It's certainly a color of royalty, but El Rey will soon have to change into an orange jumpsuit. Matthew, we're about to arrest El Rey, the head of Sombra. Go and make the Bureau proud. Not Alejandro Products. Not Doña Amarga, and hard to believe it's not this creep. Ignacio Munoz. It's not George Price either. Arsenio Castillo. I kind of remembered it was him. Wanted to be sure. Arsenio Castillo, Senior Trooper Matthews arresting you for Michelle Zaria's murder. And before you try to deny it, we know everything. We chased Sombra halfway through the world. Senior Trooper Matthew arrested many of your cronies, and now we finally got you, El Rey. Slow down, Senior Trooper Matthew. I'm an old man. I can't keep up. What's it you think I've done? After a lifetime of leading Sombra, your crimes would take too long to list. But you're finally going down for killing our agent. Is it still about that woman? The one who was my lawyer? I told you I didn't even remember her. You're lying. She was Sombra's lawyer before she joined the Bureau. That's how you recognize her when we arrived in Campania. I told you, Senior Trooper Matthew, I was innocent back then, and I'm still innocent now. You got away with murder once, probably thanks to Michelle, but this time, you had Senior Trooper Matthew to reckon with. Letting the Belle crush Michelle was a clever way to kill her, but it doesn't mean we can't prove you did it. We found your DNA on her necklace. I'm impressed, Senior Trooper Matthew. Yes, I did kill Michelle myself. But there's no shame in going to jail for killing a Bureau agent. At my age, it's quite a feat. So you admit it. You killed Michelle because she became a Bureau agent and led us to you. She should never have been allowed to live after she betrayed us. And then she had the audacity to bring you Bureau vermin to my hometown. Of course I recognize her in the tower. El Rey never forgets those who betray him. I laughed as the Belle flattened the little traitor to a pancake. Leaving that book page in her pocket was probably my downfall, but at least others will learn from that traitor's fate. I don't care you caught me, Senior Trooper Matthew. This is a glorious end to my long career. Your reign is definitely over, El Rey. You're under arrest. Arsenio Castillo, you stand trial for murdering a Bureau agent, Michelle Zaria, but the true extent of your crimes is far greater than that. Senior Trooper Matthews proved that you and your friends founded Sombra several decades ago. At first you were just discussing ideas, but those ideas turned into a nightmare. Child trafficking, experiments, corruption, murder. They even led to the foundation of a totalitarian regime in Uruguay. As Sombra's leader, you were responsible for all this, until Senior Trooper Matthews brought you to justice. Do you have anything to say? You think you figured it all out. You don't know the first thing. I admit it, I killed that Bureau agent, but I don't mind going out with a bang. Now I can look forward to a quiet retirement while your problems are just beginning. Your retirement will be a life sentence in a maximum security prison. We won't give you the chance of plotting anything with your cronies from the inside. I've done all the plotting I needed. Let's see how you deal with the fallout, Senior Trooper Matthew. Matthew, congratulations for putting El Rey behind bars. It's the greatest victory in the history of the Bureau. It's also the best tribute to Michelle we could hope for. She'd be proud of you, Matthew, and so am I. Matthew, you've caught El Rey. Take that, Sombra. Congratulations, Matthew. Let's see how they get back on their feet now that their leader's gone. I certainly hope they won't, but something tells me that we're not alone with Sombra yet. Matthew, the team deserves a moment to celebrate this important victory over Sombra. But I agree with Carmen. I'm worried about Castillo's words at his trial. It could have been mere bravado, but I don't like to take chances. Come and see me in my office when you're ready. We have to discuss the way forward. And I'll see you guys for Birth of Evil 6-6. Okay, we are back to start Birth of Evil 6-6. First one, or this last one rather, in this region. Matthew, you've arrested Arsenio Castillo for killing Michelle, and he also proved that he's El Rey. I've notified Michelle's family of her death. Her body will be taken back to the U.S. to be buried. Sombra's accomplices, Isabella Marga, Ignacio Munoz, and Alejandro Products, will also be sentenced. This is an amazing victory, Matthew. But let's not delude ourselves. We're clearly not done with Sombra. El Rey made some alarming comments at his trial. You must interrogate him again. I'll go with you to talk to El Rey, Matthew. Matthew, I need your help too. Something very strange has happened. Can I see you before you go? Jack, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're kind of busy with El Rey right now. What's up? Something's wrong with Ingrid. While you were gone, Ingrid took a phone call. Next thing I know, she yells, "Ramon, how could you?" into the phone, then breaks down in tears and runs away. Ingrid cried? I know. Matthew, after what happened to Michelle, I hate to see another member of the team so distraught. I think we should make sure Ingrid's alright. She ran towards the bell tower. Maybe I should have done this first, but then again the waits are longer. Time finding the drum. Oh, there. It was on the steps. Matthew, I don't see Ingrid anywhere. But you're right. She left her purse here. What can we do but search it for clues? Torn up photo. There was a torn photo in Ingrid's purse. Let's tape it back together and see if it explains her weird behavior. Matthew, this picture's lovely, but who's this couple? Good idea. Maybe Elliot will make sense of this picture. $18 hours. Now let's talk to El Rey. Are you missing Sombra already, Senior Trooper Matthew? You and the Bureau arrested or killed some of my best agents, but Sombra dealt you a few blows along the way too. Like when your coroner turned out to be a mole. I wish I'd seen your face when you discovered that. It's all over now, El Rey. Your cronies are going to jail too, and Sombra will crumble to dust without its leaders. You think you've ended Sombra because you've arrested an old man, Senior Trooper Matthew? Your naivety is disappointing. I almost thought you were my equal. But I've enjoyed our little game so much. I can't help giving you a hint, Senior Trooper Matthew. Go back to the King's Shadow. I prepared one last surprise for you. Take these antique coins as well to see I'm not holding a grudge. We'll find whatever you've hidden in that club and then bulldoze your hideout to the ground. There it is. Matthew, El Rey promised us a surprise, and here's a box decorated with Sombra motif. Let's open it. Got it. Matthew, that letter inside the box is signed by El Rey. Matthew, this letter could answer many questions. Or could it be El Rey's last trap? I don't trust my Spanish enough. Better give it to DuPont. $12. See you guys when these two are finished. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the El Rey's letter from DuPont. Matthew, this letter from El Rey confirms our worst fears. Sombra's far from over. According to some tests Lars ran on the paper, El Rey wrote this letter at least a decade ago. And in his letter, Castillo hands the title of El Rey to another Sombra member. What? Are you saying Castillo hasn't been Sombra's leader for 10 years? But that means the real El Rey's still at large. I'm afraid there's more, mes amis. In his letter, Castillo gives his successor this advice. Let your enemies chase shadows, hide in plain sight. He continues, it is not yet the moment for us to step out into the light, but the day when the strong will rule is approaching. Hold on, if the moment to step out into the light was close 10 years ago, it must be even closer now. It was close 10 years ago. You're right, Matthew. That explains Castillo's taunting at his trial. He said he'd done all the plotting, and he knows the new El Rey will carry out Sombra's plans. Matthew, I can't believe this. Is there really no end to Sombra? We've chased him halfway through the world. We've foiled dozens of their schemes, we've lost 2 of our agents, and after all this time, it's still not over? Well, if Sombra thinks we're going to give up, they have another thing coming. Let's go and bust Castillo's chops. Admit it, Senior Trooper Matthew, I managed to surprise you again. So you haven't been Sombra's leader for a while. Are you going to tell us who's really in charge? That'd be too easy, but I can tell you this much. You've already met my successor. But the leader isn't that important, Senior Trooper Matthew. What matters is that our plans are unfolding in the north. You'll hear about it in the news soon, if you haven't already. The north? Where in the north? What are you talking about? The time has finally come for Sombra to step out into the light. Well, you won't step out of your jail cell ever again, and Senior Trooper Matthew will stop whatever you've planned. You can be sure of that. We won't meet again, Senior Trooper Matthew, but it's been a pleasure. Have something at the King's Shadow on me. That's my parting gift to you. Okay, couple's photo now. Let's see what Ingrid is all uptight about. Matthew, this photo proves how little we know about the people we talk to every day. What do you mean? You know the people in the picture? I know the woman, and so do you, Matthew. It's Ingrid. What? That blonde hottie in the bikini is Ingrid, smiling and all loved up? You're pulling our legs, Elliot. The database doesn't lie. It's our Ingrid. Or who she was, years before she joined the Bureau. Haha, look at her cuddling up to that Latino guy. I bet it was her boyfriend. It's Ingrid's ex-husband. His name is Ramon Cortez. Ingrid was married, but we had no idea. But you're right, Matthew. Ramon was the name of that guy who called. The mere mention of his name made Ingrid dissolve in tears. They must have had a painful divorce. I wonder why Ingrid never said a word about him. But then she never tells us anything, except when she yells orders at us. Matthew, maybe Ingrid's back in the office now. Let's go and ask her about this Ramon. Ingrid, we're glad you've come back. Are you feeling any better? I apologize for my unprofessional conduct, Matthew, but Ramon's name brought back some painful memories. Yes, we know you two were married. Is that why he called you? I don't know. I haven't seen him since the divorce. Ramon was the love of my life. We were very happy for a while. I don't want to remember the rest, Matthew. It's too painful, even after all this time. Please, Ingrid, don't cry. I've done everything to erase that time of my life from my memory, Matthew. I don't want to revisit it now. I don't think that's a healthy attitude, Ingrid. You see, I had my heart broken too, but I didn't dye my hair gray over it. I talked to my bro, and we had some drinks, and I don't want to talk about it. Not now, not ever. Matthew, I'll take the rest of the day off. Have these before I go. I wanted you to have them to remember Michelle by. Matthew, this was intense. I can't believe Ingrid got her heart broken. Maybe that's why she's so cold and distant now. She never confides in us. Maybe she's too afraid of getting hurt again. But you're right, Matthew. We should call this Ramon back and make sure he won't trouble Ingrid again. Mr. Ramon Cortez? Yes, are you Ingrid's colleagues? She hung up on me. Listen, I didn't want to bother her, but the Bureau needs to dispatch a team to Mexico. They're building a wall. Who's they? The USA. They're building a wall on the Mexican border. The government is behind it, but it's all sketchy as hell if you ask me. Senior Trooper Matthew, you need to come to Mexico. Trouble is brewing. Matthew, between Michelle's death and Ingrid's breakdown, this case was an emotional roller coaster. Learning that Sombra's leader is still at large, despite us catching Castillo, was another kick in the teeth. It's a lot to take in, Matthew, and Matthew, I got something to show you. You have to come to the coffee room. Matthew, look what I found on Michelle's desk. Oh look, it's Jack, Michelle, and me having a laugh in the cafeteria. I remember that day, Matthew. We were teaching Michelle how to interrogate suspects. I pulled her light by saying we always ended it with the pun. Still, she got quite good at those puns in the end. Look, Matthew, I found Michelle's notes, too. Accidentally got high with Jack last night. It was dreadful but hilarious. Must hang out more with the team. Sanjay, what did I tell you about ransacking people's belongings? But I'm kind of glad you found Michelle's notes. It's nice to know she was happy among us. It's hard to believe Michelle was somber when we first met her. Who'd have thought she'd be our partner one day? And even our friend. Matthew's right. We should hang that picture in the cafeteria. I'll go fetch a frame. Matthew, you've done an excellent job uncovering Sombra's past in South America, but now we have fresh challenges to face. Even though you arrested Michelle's killer and Sombra's former leader, the fight isn't over. You discovered that Castillo appointed a successor many years ago, and it's clear that Sombra is already working on their next hit. Of course, Castillo's only giving us vague hints that a successor is someone we've already met, and that something is happening in the north. Funny you should mention the north. Matthew and I had a strange conversation with Ingrid's ex-husband about a huge wall being built between Mexico and the USA. Ingrid was married? Yeah, but don't mention Ramon in front of her. It makes her cry. But the important thing is that some trouble is brewing in Mexico. What do you want to bet Sombra's involved somehow? Then we don't have time to lose. We've got to stop Sombra's plans, whatever they are. I couldn't agree more. We've dealt a heavy blow to Sombra, but it's time to strike them down for good. We're heading to Mexico. Here comes an extra 20. And there is collection mode, but we're not going to do that. Now, anyway. All my collection mode cases will be done off camera. Hold tight, everybody. And we're going to wrap this up by opening up these 5 sticker packs that I got. Two new ones. Another 2. Three new ones. Four new ones. 42 is the sad case, where Angela is the killer. Okay. There's only 56 cases in the World Edition. So I'll see you guys for the next case I do in Elite Mode. What will it be? I'm not quite sure. We'll see you all soon.